What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 59 of JD's Empire Sports Talk. I apologize for the technical difficulties to start the show. Not quite sure why it's taking so long for everything to load tonight. But with that being said, I'll be running a solo episode this week because it's a Wednesday. Things got all moved around. And then next week, Big E will be back. Next week's a big week because we're going to talk a lot of college football because I know college football does start this week, week 0. There's not many games. But then next week, everybody's in action. And then the week after that is the NFL. So the next 2 weeks are going to be very, very football heavy, which is, we said it's going to happen throughout, as time goes on, because the summer, really nothing besides baseball. But now we got everything. So it's going to be very, very good. And we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll recap whatever has happened from last Monday to today. So it's a little bit longer of a stretch, but we definitely go with the more recent stuff to go through, which, of course, in the NFL, news is coming out literally every 5 seconds. So I'm going to keep looking to see if there's any other big pieces of news that come out throughout the night because you never know. Guys can be traded because it's going to be by the end of the weekend, guys have to be cut. Teams have to get down to 53. So it's going to be a lot of roster movement. You could see a team that maybe has a surplus of receivers, surplus of quarterbacks, and be like, oh, you know what? We're going to get rid of one to help us. So we'll see what happens as that progresses. But we definitely will start with the NFL because it's the hot topic right now, with the season starting 2 weeks from tomorrow night, with the Cowboys and Eagles kicking off a very highly anticipated season with Eagles defending champs, but they have a lot of competition. We'll see what they can do if they can not bounce back, but just continue that success. See if the Cowboys can bounce back within that division. That's a lot of stuff we'll get to next week and the week after, but there's a lot of competition within the division for them. AFC is loaded, NFC top heavy, but a lot of good teams that surprised last year. See if they can continue that, or maybe some teams that will shock us all that we're not really expecting. So we'll get to that next week and the week after. But yeah, even a little bit today, we'll see how it goes. But I definitely want to talk about specific things that are happening in the preseason. And the first one is Daniel Jones named starter for the Indianapolis Colts. This was someone that they signed very, very quickly into the offseason. So Shane Steichen liked what he can give to them. And also, listen, Daniel Jones, he had a really, really tough crack at it with the Giants. Not really a great situation. Went from coach to coach to coach every year. Offensive coordinator switches. Loses Saquon Barkley, was released last year before the season was even over. So that's how badly that ended for Daniel Jones. But he had a lot of really, really um, good moments, but not enough. But I feel like him going to the Vikings at the end of last year, maybe he got to learn from KOC, who's a terrific coach in his own way. And then Shane Steichen, he's a good offensive mind, just hasn't really had anything close to competent quarterback play, and it shows. When you don't have good quarterback play, you can't really do much because it's, I mean, you're stuck. It's like, oh man, we can only do this. Our offense is limited because we don't have a guy that can go out there and help us win. And you see it all the time. The good teams have the good quarterbacks. There is a few teams that they get below, or not even below average to a little more than above average quarterback play. And yes, they have good seasons, but when they get to the postseason, it doesn't work. And this is a Colts team that is even struggling to get to that 500 mark the past few years. Maybe they've had been there a little bit, not really sustainable when you don't have good quarterback play. And unfortunately for Anthony Richardson, he's going to be the odd man out here. So we'll see what happens. This is a guy that's going in only to his third year of the NFL, but we've seen this a numerous amount of times where somebody comes in, they're not particularly maybe ready to play day one, and they're forced into action because they don't have anybody else to do that, and then they have to they have to go out there and do things differently, and then it doesn't work out. We've seen it with the Jets. I know firsthand on me being a Jets fan. Zach Wilson, he didn't even make it through the second year, uh, really for the most part. But same thing with Richardson though. He got benched last year. He was hurt. Then he said a lot has happened for this guy, and it seemed like he was having a great offseason. And then it didn't really go to plan. His first game, he hurt his pinky. I mean, he wasn't out, but still getting hurt in that game that took reps away from him. And then they just like Daniel Jones, whatever he can do, whatever he would done in front of the Colts, he's done a little more than what Richardson has provided. And it seems like Daniel Jones is that veteran in the room, which is what they're looking for to calm down everybody. And I feel like Richardson, I don't know if it's lack of experience of being a leader, but it feels like some quarterbacks they're very young in the league, like a Bo Nix. You think of Bo Nix. I'm trying to think of other young quarterbacks that you could think of, like Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Jaden Daniels. Those are two guys that came in last year, so a year after Richardson. And it feels like they're leaders right away. Like that team, when they hear them open their mouth and speak, they listen, they flock to that. With Richardson, did not seem like the Colts. I don't know if it was respected him or really listened or valued what he had to say. And listen, Daniel Jones is not a Hall of Famer. We're not even close to that. But he will command the he'll be a voice that people say, okay, this guy, he's right. We got to do it this way, whatever the case may be. But it seems like Shane Steichen was looking for that adult in the room, and listen, he's going to start with Daniel Jones, and then he's going to, if Daniel Jones doesn't get it done, then he'll go to Richardson. I feel like it was easier to do it that way than have Richardson start the season, him not play well, then go to Jones. And what if Jones doesn't play well? Then you got to go back to Richardson. I know it can still happen, but Steichen's coaching for his job as well. I mean, this isn't, we have time to try out different things. Like he needs to win football games to keep his job, and he feels Jones is going to give him the best chance to win. So week one, Daniel Jones will be starting against Miami. We'll see what happens with that. And I would not be shocked if these guys keep flip flopping. I would not be shocked at all. By the end of the season, both of these guys have split games basically off of Daniel Jones starts the first 4 or 5, doesn't look great. We're going to go to Richardson. Richardson doesn't look great. We're going to go back to Jones. I would not be shocked by that. And if Daniel Jones has a good year, listen, that's good for him. But this Colts team, if they can get a decent quarterback play, they could sneak in that wild card. I mean, I'm not saying make noise in the playoffs, but that seventh seed, they can definitely easily sneak in there and see what. Then you never know what happens in the postseason. But I could see them getting to that point, or even challenging the Texans for the division. Because listen, the Texans are not world beaters by any means. They're definitely not world beaters. So that's something definitely to watch out for. But yeah, Richardson. I just wanted to have a couple read a couple of stats here. He had 11 touchdowns, the 13 career interceptions in his career, and I believe he's played 16 or 17 games. So listen, that's not good at all. Not a good formula of success, but it is what it is. And extremely injury prone, like I said before. He's missed a lot of games. I know he was benched for not injury but other things, but he also put his body on the line a tremendous amount, especially his rookie season. He didn't look too bad the rookie year, and then he got hurt, and he was done after that. So that's why I feel that Steichen. If I had to guess why Steichen went this way, he's looking for that veteran adult in the room to try to start out good and see. We'll go from there. That's basically I feel what his mindset is going into the season. Other NFL news, we got Joe Flacco named starter for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, this was expected, but officially announced. This was something that was expected long, even when the draft started. Unless they drafted somebody very early, which I still didn't think that would be the case. I still didn't think they would start anybody else. But yeah, Joe Flacco will start. Well, curious to see. I feel for the Browns, what the depth chart is after Joe Flacco. Is it Kenny Pickett second string? I believe so. Is it Dylan? Then again, Pickett hasn't done anything in the preseason because he's been injured. Dylan Gabriel, I would expect the lock of the depth chart would be Dylan Gabriel ahead of Shador Sanders. That might not even be truthful. It may be just because they feel that they fully wanted Dylan Gabriel. Does not feel like that was the case with Shador Sanders, and they're going to go that way. They're going to stick to their guns. If they had a certain guy higher on their totem pole, they're going to put him on the depth chart higher because it's their guy. Listen, I know they drafted both, but it did not feel like Shador is someone they like really that much. So we'll see what the Browns do. But Flacco definitely, of course, he was named starter, which was expected by everybody. He hasn't even played in the preseason. Maybe we'll see him in the last week. Probably not. I don't expect that. He'll be ready for week one. He'll be ready for the week one matchup against the Bengals. Another little bit of news here: Bears locking their insurance policy, basically their backup. That's like pretty much that's what it is in the NFL. They got Tyson Bagent back, or not back, but signed him to a 2-year extension for 10 million. He's looked pretty good in the preseason. I wouldn't be shocked. Think of some veteran journeyman backup that got a chance to start. I would not be shocked at that Bagent one day. And also, Ben Johnson, new coach. They got a new system working. I don't want to say that, but if Kalen Williams didn't play well, I would not be shocked if he went to Beijing. But that would take a lot. That would be really, really bad. Caleb Williams would have to really play so poorly that that's what would happen. But we'll see. But Beijing, a nice little backup for the Bears. He's done the job in the preseason. He just knows what he's doing. He's one of those guys. Another guy seems like a built-in, born leader, which is what the Bears are looking for. And you're good to you always need a backup because you never know what's going to happen to your starter. And we've seen teams that lost their starter maybe early in the season and were able to rally with their backup quarterback. So usually they say the backup quarterbacks are the most liked on the entire team for the most part, and I can see Bajent being that as well. Next, we got Caleb McGarry, so very very talented offensive lineman for the Atlanta Falcons. He is going on pretty much. He's going to be out. He's going to undergoing an MRI on his leg. Falcons are getting banged up, but McGarry will be a significant loss for their young quarterback, Michael Penix. He's somebody that he relies on that pocket being clean because he lets it go. But he needs a clean pocket, and if McGarry's out for any significant amount of time, that will hurt them a little bit. And he's not their only injury, but he's the most recent one. So that's something that you're 2 weeks away. For them, it would be 2 weeks from Sunday. You're almost there. You're really almost at the season, and you need these things to go in the right direction, or else you need these injuries to be trending in the right direction, like I just said, or else you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. So they got to see what they can do with that. But the one other thing, actually, a few. Vele got traded to the Saints. He was somebody that played a little bit last year. Devon Vele, very very as a speedy guy. Last year, he actually had 41 receptions for 475 yards. So that's going to be he will definitely be a target for the Saints. Not really sure why the Broncos wanted to cut bait with him, but yeah, the Saints picking up any type of weapon they can for a quarterback room that has Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler, probably the worst quarterback room in the hit. Not even I wouldn't say, or almost we could say by the end history in the NFL, but definitely the worst quarterback in the quarterback room in the league this year. But yeah, it's kind of surprising by that one. That one just came in. Vele was a reliable target for Bo Nix, especially in those short yardage situations, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. He would little hit Vele on a little intermediate route and get it to first down. I was a little shocked by that, but you always like to keep those players or those receivers or weapons around that your quarterback can tell that he can connect with them and always knows that they're available for him. My top performers from week 2. So the week 2 preseason came and went. It started on Thursday, ended on Monday. Tomorrow there's games for week 3 preseason. And then before you know it, preseason will be over, and the Eagles and Cowboys will be kicking off on Thursday. Chiefs and Chargers will be kicking it off on Friday. Everybody will get after it on Sunday, and then there'll be a Monday night matchup. So before you know it, we're going to be there. But for this show and next show, I will do my top performers. I know last week I mentioned the Giants quarterback room as a whole, but now I feel like Jackson Dart is starting to really separate himself. I know he's still not going to start, so it doesn't really matter for the time being. But he played another great game, 14 to 16 passing, 137 yards and a touchdown. So he's looked terrific. Looked very very confident, which I can say. I said this last week that some rookies aren't or don't really come off that way. They struggle with that of trying to command not only the huddle but the line of scrimmage. You'd be like, oh, I haven't seen that before. But it seems like Dart is willing to learn and learn from mistakes. But he's been pretty much impeccable in his 2 games that he's played in the preseason. I'm very very impressed by him, and I wouldn't be shocked. I know their schedule is very very tough in the beginning, so if Russ doesn't start out great, which can be expected, I would not be shocked if Jackson Dart slings that thing pretty early in the season, depending on what happens. And I think he might be the backup to start the year. I feel like he can be second on the depth chart. Wouldn't be crazy. And keep it up, man. He's doing really, really good. And Dayball's counting on him. I know Dayball needs to keep his job, so he needs to win some games this year. But if he's able to withstand not getting fired this year, and then he has Dart full time next year, that can be a very, very good recipe for success for a Giants team that's looking for some wins because they have not had many in a long, long time. They haven't made the playoffs. I mean, they did with Daniel Jones a few years ago, but before that, sustained winning deep in the postseason has been a long time for the G-men. Number 2, Jared Stidham. So I'm kind of staying with the backup quarterback theme just because the starters aren't really playing a ton. But Jared Stidham, who has bounced around with teams, he's done a lot. He threw for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns his last game. Stidham has always been somebody that could be a really reliable backup. And if you need him to play, he can get it done. I know the Raiders a few years ago, they were looking at him to really be, you never know. You never know with him. Like, that's what they were looking for. They would be like, oh, man, this guy can actually play. They gave him the chance to do it. He didn't really prove himself that much, so they moved on. But Stidham is always doing a good job as a backup. So 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was my second performer of the week. And then number three, Stetson Bennett, 324 yards and 3 touchdowns. Somebody that you never know. Stafford can be, this can be his last hurrah, last dance for Stafford this year, next year. I feel like it's coming soon just because of all the injuries he's been dealing with. And he's gotten, I talked about this last week, he's gotten beat up a ton in his career. So I would not be shocked if that would happen. So we'll see what happens with that situation. But Stetson Bennett proven himself because I know he is third string. Jimmy G's there now, but he could be possibly the future. You never know what can happen, and or if not only for the Rams but for the other teams out there, that could very very much happen. But 324 yards and 3 touchdowns for him. So yeah, basically I said it's gonna be quarterback heavy when I do my top performers every single week, and can very easily see that being the case next week as well. So yeah, that'll do it for the NFL. I'll talk about my Jets when we get to how you doing, just because there's a few things to unpack with them. And then let's do it. MLB. Yankees make history. They're the top headline coming in. I know the games. There were some games that happened early afternoon and stuff like that, but the Yankees make history, or they did last night, I should say. Second nine home run game of the season. So they already had one earlier in the year. Last night they did it against the Rays, actually in their spring training facility, which I find that hilarious to even think about that. But they're the first team in MLB history to do that multiple times in one season. That is a pretty impressive feat, if you ask me. Just hitting 9 home runs in a single game is crazy. Judge had one, Bellinger had two, Stanton had two, Caballero had one, Chisholm had one, and Ben Rice had one. So these guys hitting on all cylinders in terms of the lineup. Yankees looking to sustain more wins, but they have been playing better lately, and they need to get every win they can because the postseason is going to be very very tough to get to. So the American League is getting very, very tight as we head down into September. But yeah, the Yankees making some history for themselves. Other MLB news before we get to the standings check in. We have three things we should hit here. I just want to check if there's anything else that maybe we can talk about. But Bubba Chandler called or will be called up by the Pirates for Friday, so he'll be making his first start of his career. So he's baseball's top pitching prospects. Now you pair him with Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Jared Jones when he comes back next year. That's a really formidable top four. But listen, I know the Pirates have a ton of work to do, but pitching is the hardest thing to find, and they will have four guys. You know, Skeens has done it already. Mitch Keller is always reliable. Jared Jones looked really, really good last year. And if somebody's considered a top pitching prospect, I would expect him to be pretty good as well. So Bubba Chandler will be up making his first career start on Friday. So see, the Pirates are going to give him the last month and change to see what he's got, and I'm sure if he does well, he'll be right on the big club next year on opening day. If he doesn't do so well, I feel they'll send him back down to start next year and let him work on whatever he has struggled with. But yeah, Bubba Chandler coming up for the Pirates. Victor Robles suspended 10 games after I wrote bat incident, but he was hit by a pitch. He's been hit by a lot of pitches fairly recently, and he hasn't really been, the happiest camper with that. And he's rehabbing, so he's trying to come back. He was injured for a very long time, so he got hit by the pitch the other day, and then just took the bat and launched it. So that right towards the pitcher's direction. But not a good look. Causes the benches to clear, and Victor Robles will be suspended 10 games. He also did take the sunflower seeds, all of them, and chuck them on the field before heading down to the locker room. So Mariners are, they're doing really, really well for themselves. They didn't play great against the Mets or the Phillies, but they have been good this year as a whole, and they're looking to make a playoff push. Robles can be, I don't know if he'll get his role that he had before he was injured, but he can very easily be in the mix defensively, pinch hitting wise, for a few different things. And him being out for now 10 games, and he's still on the rehab assignment, so that is a lot to think about there for him, and maybe costing the team a little bit. Bobby Witt, youngest player in Royals history to reach 100 home runs in their organization. It was Carlos Beltran and Bobby Witt. Um, he beat that one. Bobby Witt, man, he's going to represent Team USA as their shortstop in a few years. So listen, he's doing everything right, and I'm very happy for him. He's going to be a guy that he's going to be that shortstop for the Royals for a very long time, and hopefully they can win before the end of his career. But he's super young. He's only 25. He's got a lot left in the tank, and I could very easily see him in the Hall of Fame one day. A couple other things here. Orioles, Felix Bautista is out for most of 2026 after tearing his labrum. This is the guy that was injured uh, for a while last year. I believe he was out for the season, if I remember right. So a lot going on with him injury wise. So not really good though, because the Orioles will be missing their closer going into next year, which is something they're looking to turn the page and forget about 2025. And then these little things keep happening along the way, which is not definitely not what you want. But we'll see what happens with the Orioles as a whole. And then let's talk about the Phillies, man. They are on a heater in terms of hitting the last few days. This is something that they struggled with at the beginning of their road trip. And against the Nationals, those bats got hot and they kept going. Um, Kyle Schwarber, 45 home runs. Jose Alvarado made his return from his 80-game suspension. He's not eligible for the postseason, but they're going to definitely use him as much as they can, helping them to win the division and perhaps more in terms of seeding. So they're definitely going to give him a really, really good chance. But the stat I wanted to get here was they scored 29 runs and got 48 hits in a three-game sweep of Seattle. Their most hits in a three-game span in a long, long time, over 20 years when they had 50. But that is pretty impressive that you scored 29 runs and 48 hits in 3 games, and they had 20 hits. If I remember, 20 hits in 2 of the 3 games. So the middle game, there wasn't that many, and then they had 20 or 20 plus hits in the first and the last game against Seattle. So that was a nice beating that the Phillies put on Seattle. But let's go to the standings check-in, which is something that I feel right now the most important thing to talk about for the MLB, just because we're hitting September and it's a lot is going to happen before you know it, and the postseason is going to be here. So let's see. My apologies, I knocked the microphone over, but let's get the standings up and ready to go. A lot of a lot of teams really jockeying for playoff positioning, a lot going on. But let's get the standings here. Why is this not loading? My apologies, but let's get to this MLB standings here. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's start with the American League. We'll do divisions. We'll go division by division, and then we'll hit the wild card because I know that's the most important thing everybody wants to hear. But it's still important to talk about divisions. AL East 74 and 54 are the Toronto Blue Jays. They're in first place and have been for a decent amount of time now since we hit the summer. They're still playing great baseball, doing their thing at home, like I said. Away, they're holding their weight and they're getting it done. Fascinating. They're 20 games over 500 and only have a plus 53 run differential. I don't buy stock into that, but I think it's worth noting because usually teams that are 20 games over 500 have a pretty damn good run differential, and that is not the case um, for the Blue Jays. They have a very slim run differential, but they're winning ball games. That's all that matters. Yankees in second place, 68 and 57. So that's a change from last week. They are on a 4-game winning streak going into tonight, and I expect that. I expect them to start playing better baseball. It seems like the lineup is clicking. Stanton has been really, really good lately. I know that they have to play him in the outfield if they even want to get him in the lineup because Judge's elbow. And Stanton's doing it right now. He's really, really doing it for them. And then the Red Sox, 68 and 59. They're a game from the Yankees, just 2 back in the loss column. They have the same amount of wins. Red Sox are on a 3-game losing streak. We'll see what happens with them, but I expect the Yankees and the Red Sox to definitely battle for second and third for the rest of the year. It seems like whatever team can get hot for a longer amount of time will be the team that they go out there and they win. And then let's go to the Tampa Bay Rays at 61 and 65. They're 12 games at a first, which doesn't really matter anymore. But the more important thing is they're 6 games or 6.5 games from the Red Sox. So they're even for third place. And then we'll get to the wild card in a little bit. But even for third place, that looks like a long shot at this point. They haven't really been playing good at all for the past few weeks. And then the Baltimore Orioles, they're in last place at 59 and 67. So they were hovering around that, 11 or 12 under 500 type of record. But now they're only 8 under. So they're playing better baseball. 2 games from the Rays. So for the first time, basically since the beginning of the year, they have a chance at escaping that last place slot and moving up. They're on a 3-game winning streak. So see what the Orioles can do as they keep playing the Astros, or see what the Astros can do against them. But the Orioles are the only team in that division without a positive run differential. So Rays are still under 500 with a positive run differential. Um, let's talk about the AL Central. Tigers at 76 and 53. This is a team that has been really good all year. It seems like they're turning that gear on again. They had that little bit of a lull period out of the All Star break. They struggled mightily, but now that they're turning that around 8-2 in their last 10, 1-3 in a row. They're firing on all cylinders. Second place Royals at 65 and 61, so they're playing much better baseball. They're also 8-2 in their last 10, 5 games, 5 game winning streak. So they're 9.5 out of first. So I wouldn't expect them to even come back in the division, but this is a team that now has a legit chance at the wild card. They did a few things at the deadline. We're trying to go for it, but not too much, where they can still, hold their assets. But they're playing much better. Like I said, 5 game winning streak, dead even on the run differential. 480 scored, 480 given up. Let's go to the Guardians, 64 and 62. They're 3-7 in their last 10. I know when they played the Mets a few weeks ago, they were the hottest team in the league. They've cooled down significantly. 2 game losing streak as well, but they're still in the wild card mix. They still have a fighter's chance for that wild card. So we'll see what the Guardians can do. And then the Twins at 58 and 67. This team is going to start falling more and more out of the race. They're already definitely out of it, but um, before you know it, they're going to fall like really under, way under 10 games, under 500 and more. They really don't have the manpower to MLB caliber players anymore. They've traded everybody. We talk about this every week. They've lost 2 in a row. Actually, my apologies. They've only lost one. And then the White Sox, 45 and 81. They have been out of it since May. They're 45 and 81, like I just said, and 3-7 in their last 10. So they're not even playing better baseball at all. And let's go to the AL West. 69 and 58 are the Houston Astros, who have been on the top of the AL West for a while now. They are 4-6 in their last and have lost 4 in a row, so they're not playing good baseball. But listen, when you're not playing good baseball and the team under you is also on a losing streak, you didn't lose any ground, and that's the Mariners at 68 and 60. So the Mariners are a game and a half out of first, but they could have very easily been in first if they've won a couple of games lately. They lost the last 2 against the Mets and got embarrassed, like I said, by the Phillies. They're in a 5 game losing streak. So listen, if the Mariners got those wins together, they could still do it, obviously. But if they got those wins in the right, going in the right direction, they would be in first place right now. Unfortunately, they are not. And then the Rangers, 62 and 65. They're 7 out of first, 2-8 in their last 10. So they're not playing either. This is a team that was over 500 last week. Not the case anymore. They're on a 2 game losing streak. The Rangers really, this is their last, I would say last good. They have to put a really good stretch together within the next 2-3 weeks, or else they're not going to recover and they're not going to go anywhere. If they want to make the postseason, I feel like they're one of those teams. They're very very talented to not be in the postseason. They gotta start figuring that one out. And also, as I check here, some NFL news: Sky Moore going to the 49ers. This is a guy that was a draft pick by the Chiefs that is very, very high, but um, they're giving up on him. The 49ers have been decimated with injuries. But let's get back to the MLB. And yeah, the Rangers got to put it together. That's pretty much the moral of the story there. Angels are at 60 and 66. They're on a 2 game losing streak. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So they've been playing okay, but they're really not going to make any push in terms of the postseason. And then the A's, 57 and 70. So they're 12 out of first, been in last place for a very, very long time. But they are 6-4 in their last 10. So they're playing better for themselves. Before we go to the National League, let's break down the American League as a playoff picture here. Tigers are in that 1 seed. Uh, Blue Jays 74-54, like I said before, they're right there, but they're in the 2 seed, and the Astros are sitting in the number 3 seed. And then the wild card, Yankees are the first right now. Red Sox are second, and the Mariners are third. So that keeps switching, just because they all don't have the same amount of games played. Like the Mariners have 3 more losses than the Yankees do, but they have the same amount of wins. So if when those even out in terms of games, we'll see it obviously more easily. But those look like those will be the top, or those will be the 3 wildcard teams going into the postseason. Listen, the Royals are 2 games out, but I can't see them making a push over those 3 teams ahead of them. And the Guardians are really the only other team that has a chance as well. I wouldn't give the Rangers really a chance at this point, and not really the Rays either. So the Royals or the Guardians would have to make a significant push. They're close, but I just don't think they're that close in terms of. Yeah, I understand they're close in terms of the games out. I just don't think that they have that much of a run in them. But the Royals are on a 5 game winning streak, so we'll see. Let's slide to the NL East, where we got the Phillies commanding first place now for about 3 weeks. If I had to say, they're at 74 and 53. They're on a 4 game winning streak. They played very well against the Nationals over the weekend. and then they swept the Mariners. Like I said before, they're on a four-game winning streak, 40-21 at home. They got Alvarado back, Duran, whatever his how do you pronounce it? He's been really really good in that ninth inning role. So they feel like the Heat that's completely shut down. So they don't even have to worry about that anymore, which is something that Philly fans and Philly, like them as a team, they used to be like, oh, we got to get this lead to the ninth inning, but who's going to finish the job? He does it. So, and they got David Robertson now, who's in the mix. He's been back with the team for a week or so. Alvarado came off the suspension list earlier today, so they're firing all cylinders lately. Then we got the Mets in second place at 67 and 58, 6 games out of first. So that's starting to slip away a little bit. I know they do play each other next week, and we'll probably be on the air for the first game of the series. They are on a three-game winning streak, playing the Nationals right now. They are losing 4-1, but see if they can mount a comeback. But the division looks like it's starting to slip away a little bit. Then third place, Miami Marlins, 59 and 67. So they made that little bit of push after the All Star break to get to 500 or almost at 500, but they went backwards, if you want to say, and now they are much behind the Mets and 2-8 in their last 10, two-game losing streak. Then we got the Braves at 57 and 69. They are 16 and a half out of first. I don't even know why I'm saying that anymore. Only two from third place. So I could by the end of the season, I could definitely see the Braves overtaking the Marlins for third, which doesn't really mean anything for them because they're definitely out of it. And the Braves are getting a little healthier now, so that's something to keep an eye on. They did win their last game. They're 8-2 in their last 10 too. They beat the Mets 2 out of 3. They're beating a few quality teams, but then they lose to someone like the White Sox, or they lose to whoever team you want to think of. Not a good team, and it hurts them a little bit. And then the Nationals round out the NL East at 50 and 75. So the Nationals are just been stinking it up, and it's been a bad season for them when they took Nathaniel Lowe and put him on. Or they DFA'd him after he hit a grand slam the night before. They DFA'd him. He was picked up by the Red Sox, and he had a big home run for them last night. But that just shows they're not really interested in winning games. They want to see who they got in terms of young players. Because Lowe, yes, he can hit, but he's not going to be the future first baseman there. They want to move on, and they did. Let's slide to the NL Central. This is something when me and Biggie picked this game. I want to say 3 weeks ago they were dead tied for first place. Now the Brewers are up 7 games. They're 79 and 47 for the best record in the National League. They are on a two-game losing streak. They didn't have a good weekend either, and they also lost to the Cubs on a doubleheader yesterday. But they are 7-3 in their last 10. Cubs are at 72 and 54, 7 games out of first, like I just said. They're also on a two-game winning streak after beating the Brewers in a doubleheader, and 5-5 in their last 10. Reds are at 67 and 60. They're 5.5 from the Cubs, so they are in striking distance. They need to go on a nice win streak, which they are. They're on a three-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10. So the Reds have been really, really good after the All Star break. And this is something that Terry Francona, he gets the most out of his players, and he's doing it once again. I mean, this is a young team that doesn't really, I don't think they're ready to be this quality of a team. But listen, 7 games over 500 this late in the season, it's impressive for them just because of who they have. But they're going to be a team to be reckoned with in the future. And I would not be shocked if they went on a run and made the postseason this year, seeking in that last wild card spot. Wouldn't shock me at all. And then we got the Cardinals at 63 and 64. They are 4 games from the Reds. They're a team that, yeah, they're on a two-game winning streak. They're just not playing good baseball at all. I don't really understand what direction they're going in. Seems like, yeah, one day they want to push it, and then the next day they don't. So they got to figure out what their goal or what they want to make their goals to be in the future. And then the Pirates, 54 and 74. They have no shot at the postseason, but their hope or their future is now um, maybe potentially a co-ace with Paul Skeens, Bubba Chandler. That's pretty much what they got to look forward to at this point. Then we got the NL West. The Dodgers at 72 and 54 have been manning first place for a very long time, but the Padres are right there. Padres at 70 and 56. They're two out of first place. They're playing good baseball, 6-4 in their last 10, but they've had tremendous amount of trouble with the Dodgers. I'm not sure what it is, but they really have had trouble with the Dodgers more, recently over the years. So they got to figure that one out if they do want to win the division, or else I don't know what their plans are. If they can't keep making the wild card every year and falling just short, it's a little easier to win your division and go from there. Third place, Arizona Diamondbacks at 62 and 66. They are on a two-game winning streak, 5-5 in their last 10. So the Diamondbacks, they're one of those teams that hasn't been playing good at all. I'm not sure why they even I traded or didn't trade all of their pieces away, but it is what it is for the Diamondbacks. Giants at 61 and 65. They're right behind the Diamondbacks. They're another team, 2-8 in their last 10. They're falling out of it very, very quickly. And they went and got Devers in the before the summer started. They thought that was going to kickstart their offense, and Devers hasn't really been too good for them, and the team has suffered tremendously since then. And then to end out the divisional standings before we hit the wild card for the National League is the Rockies at 36 and 90. So before you know it, they will be at 100 losses. Probably 2 weeks from now, when we talk about the standings check-in, they'll probably be at 100 losses at this point. And yes, Senga does suck. I see the comment there. He is not pitching well lately at all. I don't know what is going on with him since he came back from being hurt, but he needs to figure it out. And listen, Senga's job is not secured next year. They got prospects coming up. That we saw. I'll talk about this in a little bit. But Nolan McLean looked tremendous. Brandon Sproat's on the way. Jonan Tong could be here next year. That's three guys right there. Right there. Peterson's not going anywhere because Peterson's probably the most reliable guy they have. Uh, don't know what they're going to do with Clay Holmes. Seems like they promised him the world, and now they're kind of regretting it a little bit that he can't get deep into games anymore. So I would not be shocked if Senga, if he's not going to pitch well down the stretch, he doesn't have anything guaranteed to him. And Mania as well. We don't know what's going to happen with him. But I'll talk about the Mets a little bit more lately. But let's talk about the wild card of the National League before we hit the NBA very briefly. But like I said before, Brewers are the one seed, 79 and 47, with the Phillies as the second seed and the Dodgers as the third seed. So the thing to look at with the division leaders, I would say the Dodgers potentially catching the Phillies because I feel like the Brewers they're 5 games ahead at this point, and I don't see them looking back. They're just playing really, really good baseball. I don't know how they do it. I really can't explain it. They don't have the most talent, but they do the fundamentally things right, which a lot of teams don't do in this day and age of the game. But they are one of those teams that do that. And listen, I've been saying this. I understand they're playing great in the regular season, but in the postseason, I don't. Usually, the teams with the most stars they usually go the furthest. And the Brewers, I don't see them. I could see them potentially losing when they. I know they'll get the bye, but I could see them losing to anybody else in the National League. I feel like that they're beatable, and also the National League is very, very good this season. Oh, as it was last year, but I think even better than it was last year, honestly. And then the wild card, Cubs are manning that number one spot. They have been for a decent amount of time. And then the Padres are 2.5 from them. So the Padres are in striking distance. And then the Mets are in that third wild card. So the Mets are holding on somehow, only by a game. They're both them and the Reds, who the Reds are the team right outside looking in. They're only a game out. They're both on 3-game winning streaks, and the Reds have been playing better baseball. So basically, it's going to be the Mets and the Reds to me for that last spot because no one else in the National League. Cardinals are the next team. They're 5 out and they're under 500, and that just gets worse and worse after that. So the Mets are going to have to find a way to to get over to keep that spot over the Reds. And I don't see them. People are saying they have a chance at division. I know they do play the Phillies like 7 more times, but I think the division's gone. I don't see them coming back with the division. But if the Mets can put a good stretch of baseball together, they can have a chance at moving up in the wild card too, which is something they look for because there's a Padres team that's ahead of them. They don't want to face them in the postseason because for some reason the Mets cannot beat the Padres for the most recent year. So they gotta try to find a way to move up in the wild card or something. They gotta put a good end of the season together. Last I think it's 36 games after today. They gotta go out there and do that because if not, they're gonna be in a world of trouble. Yeah, the Mets are down 5-1. Josh Bell's always a Mets killer, but we'll talk about that and give an updated Mets score in a little bit. But let's move into the NBA before we hit how you doing, which we'll talk about all my teams. But the NBA, Rick Carlisle, he signed a multi-year extension with the Pacers, so we know him. He's been really, really good for Indiana as a franchise. He walked in there and they weren't in a good place. They didn't start out in a good place with him, but it does take time to build what exactly you want your team to look like. And he made certain trades. He signed certain pieces that people are like, "Oh, you don't need this guy. He's not going to do anything for you." And they're producing for Carlisle. He gets rewarded with the multi-year extension. I mean, they were in the finals this past season. Probably had no business being there, but they were in it. And then the year before that, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the last 2 years, he's been in the postseason, gotten deep into the postseason. We'll see what he can do this year. He's gonna have a lot of things on his plate without Halliburton. So we'll see how much he can coach. I would still expect the Pacers to be in the playoffs because he's a really good coach and he gets the most out of his players. Probably not a top seed, but I could see them being a lower 6, 7, 8 seed at that point, and maybe giving a team in the first round a run for their money. We'll see what he can do. And then other NBA news, one little thing here was John Wall retires after 11 seasons. John Wall was a guy that was prolific when he first came in the league, but can never get over that injury bug. 19 points per game in his career, 9 assists. He was on the Wizards. That was probably the last time the Wizards were relevant, to be honest with you. Him and Bradley Beal running the show there. They haven't been good at all recently. So uh, John Wall, yeah, retired after 11 seasons. Seemed like he had more in the tank, but just could never get over that injury mess that he always had to deal with. But it's gonna be more of a quicker show today, just because I'm here by myself. How you doing? We'll hit now, and then we'll hit college football, some news, and then just talk about the games that are on slate for Saturday, starting at 12, and then going to all the way through the nighttime, and then we'll hit the pick'em segment, which we will pick a college football game this week because it's college football season, and we're starting that one up. But let's do how you doing first, and I wanted to talk about the Jets because that's something that I didn't get to do before. Jets are making a few moves in terms of the defensive line. I know Harrison Phillips is a more notable pickup than the other guy they did, and I don't really want to talk about him because it's not really worth it. But Harrison Phillips traded from the Vikings to the Jets. He was somebody that was on the Bills before the Vikings. He's going to be a reliable piece, and I feel like something that I can give credit to the Jets front office and coaching staff was seems like when they feel like they have a weakness at a position, they're not afraid to replace the guy. And listen, I know they're not their players. Most of these guys aren't their players, so it's very easy to get rid of somebody that you don't have that connection with if you didn't bring them in. But they're not afraid to go out there and listen. They identified that their kicking situation was a mess. They went out there and got a veteran in Nick Folk, and it seems like it's going to make a difference. And we've seen with the Jets, kicking has been not great over the past few years, and Nick Folk has stabilized that position. And then Harrison Phillips seems like Quinnen Williams needed some. I know he hasn't played in the postseason, but it was going in the direction of he needs help going into the season. Didn't seem like these guys were moving the needle that much. I know they did sign other veterans, but that moves them down on the depth chart a little bit. And now Phillips is a reliable second guy next to Quinnen. He's a big guy, so that's a very nice pickup. Very quality player, and we'll see what happens with the Jets. And they did say they were looking for a receiver, so they're going to look in the trade market for a receiver. I wouldn't expect it to be a big splash at all. I would expect it to be more of a depth piece. Which I mean, listen, the receiver room I lacks the names. I also lacks career production, so we'll see what happens with that. But listen, the Jets are they're not going to be a. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I feel they will go out there and they will give them a ton of effort. They'll give the fans effort. Listen, we're sick and tired of the losing, but I don't think it's going to change this year. But I do like I said it last week that Glenn was somebody that he's gonna get in your face and he's gonna tell you you're wrong when you're wrong. So that's a big thing that the Jets haven't had in a long time. And listen, the players got to adjust to it because I'm sure they haven't had coaches like that in their lifetime. So we'll see what happens with that. But with the Jets, wrap up the preseason on Friday. Starters, for the most part, aren't going to play, so we'll see who they put out there. I wouldn't put Fields out there at this point just because it seems like he's done whatever he's had to. Um, I probably would have sat him the first game, played him the second and third game, but I'm not the coach. Uh, that's why I'm talking here, obviously. But yeah, Frank, the Yankees stink, man. They have been playing better. I did give them credit. I don't know if you saw it before. I did give them credit for playing better, and I actually made them the main headline for the MLB today in terms of their home runs from last night. So I don't have that much Yankees hate, but to talk about. And they're also playing better than the Mets are lately. That's really not much competition between the two, but they are playing better. Let's get back to my teams because I don't would never root for the Yankees in my life. Let's talk about the New York Mets, perfect. Perfect segue there. Over the weekend, they did win 2 out of 3 against Seattle. They beat the Nationals last night, beat them pretty hard, and right now they are losing 5-1. So they need to pick this up. They got two guys on for Marte. Not sure why Marte is batting. Oh, Marte's came in for Brandon Nimmo. Nimmo left with neck stiffness, so we have to hope that's not going to be a problem because now Alvarez is gone, and for at least 2 weeks he's going to come back playing injured. Don't know how that's going to go, but they need they need uh they need Nimmo to be healthy because he's been better lately. Marte got out there on a strikeout, so Alonso needs to help the boys out and get them some runs to get back in this game. But the Mets, they've blown a significant amount of leads lately, which is unfortunate. But they have been pitching and playing better baseball. Listen, if you can get a starter, this is the name of the game. Get a starter deep into the game, which only the good teams can do nowadays, and not all of them can still do it. But you get a starter deep into the game, it's especially in the regular season, because you can't rely on the bullpen getting more outs than the starter every night. We've seen what's happened the past few weeks, but the offense is finally starting to click. Alvarez was playing really good before he got hurt. Vientos has been hitting much better. He was benched for about a week, and then he got back in there. Something must have been lit under him because he's been hitting all of a sudden. Home run in back-to-back games. He has another hit tonight, which is a double. So it seems like he's getting that power back a little bit, which is something he didn't have at all this season. He only has 8 home runs. Beatty has been he's been steady. I'm not a fan of Beatty, but listen, he's after those top four guys in that lineup, he's been the next guy most productive since those other guys. After that, that's Beatty, and that's it, really. So I got to give him credit. He has another home run tonight, 15 on the year. So he can very easily hit 20 on the season. And they need these other guys to step up, and they need this pitching. Alonso did drive in a run here. So it's 5-2. So I'm assuming it's a single. Could be a double also, but I'm assuming it's a single, and the guy scored from second. Let's see. But I'll keep going here. But Nolan McLean looked great in his start against Seattle. And Seattle is a good lineup, and he shut them down pretty much cool, calm, and collected. He looked very confident out there. The breaking stuff is very plus, which is big for a young pitcher. You don't always see that. You always see sometimes the young pitcher has the blazing fastball, but doesn't have that other stuff that comes with it. McLean has a sick sweeper, slider, whatever you want to call it. And then he mixed in that curveball, which is not something that was on the scouting report, and he threw it double the amount he's ever thrown it, and he looked really good. I'm very encouraged by that. And the rumblings around the Mets is that Sproat will be up next week. So Sproat has looked really good in AAA. If he can give them anything, that's another guy. And hopefully that means if Sproat's coming up, hopefully that means Montas is getting shipped out because the guy is useless. And I don't even understand. I know they paid him. Alonso hit a double. That's big. So now they got guys in scoring position. But Montas has been this might be the worst move that Stearns has made since he's been involved with the Mets. So hopefully, listen, they cut ties with Paul Blackburn last week. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Montas. If it's not Montas, it's going to be Stanek because there's nobody else that they're going to get rid of. The rest of that bullpen, they put their chips on the table to go and get. So I don't think it's going to be any of those other guys. I would expect Stanek or Montas to be shipped out if indeed Sproat is up next week. And they did say they wanted to go to a 6-man rotation. So that's going to be the only that makes the most sense. And Montas is not going back in the rotation. I can tell you that. He has not gotten the job done at all. I'm trying to think of anything else I could talk about. Notre Dame next week. I'll get more into them next week show, but they do play next Sunday against Miami, so it's a top 10 matchup. I'm very excited. Coming off a championship, I know it was a championship loss, but this team does still have high expectations. New quarterback CJ Carr was named QB1. They said it was a competition, but I really don't think it was. I think it was just so they can keep the backup Minchie around just to have somebody here to give them reliable backup and some competition for Carr. But I don't think it was a true competition as much as they wanted to say it was. I don't believe that was the case. Carr was brought in a 5-star, a very highly touted guy last year, but he was a red shirt, which rightfully so. I mean, it didn't seem like they didn't really need him, and he wasn't ready. Uh, Going back to the Mets, McNeil just lined a double to left, so they scored 2. They're right back in this game. They got to win this game. Um, they gotta win as many games possible, especially against teams like this. Reds don't play till later, but the Phillies did win earlier today, so they gotta get this. They gotta get this win, and hopefully they come back and they do it. So we'll see. I'm sure they're gonna go to the bullpen soon because Senga had a rough start today. Let's see what Vientos can do for the Mets here. And then yeah, with Notre Dame, I am very excited. Like I said, for them, nothing really else. Talk about the Jets before that. The Mets. Can give little updates as the game keeps going on. But let's hit our um, last main topic, which is college football. It's back, everybody. I know there's only about I think there's 5 games this week, but still, it's 5 games that we didn't have last week, so we got to be excited about that. And we do have a ranked matchup, and they're back in Ireland. Last year, that was a really entertaining game. Honestly, Florida State was very highly touted last year, and that kind of showed the what their problems and the problems they had that existed throughout the entire season in that game in Ireland. And now we got a ranked matchup: Iowa State versus Kansas State. I like Iowa State. I talked about them actually a few weeks ago that I like what they got. They got a good coaching staff. They have a potential NFL quarterback in Rocco Beck. Curious to see what he's going to do in the first game. It's the only ranked matchup of the day, and it's at 12 o'clock. So we got to lock in. And that's the game me and Biggie are going to give our predictions on. I know Biggie's not here to give his prediction, but I will give his for him. And we're pretty much in lockstep this week. We think that it's going to go in the same direction. I don't want to spoil it, but we think it's going to go in the same direction. The other games are Idaho State versus UNLV. UNLV is a they're more of a known team than Idaho State, but UNLV will be in action. Fresno State versus Kansas. That game is on Fox, so that's another game to watch out for. So that's something you can look and watch. Kansas is one of those teams that they can beat the good teams. They have a chance of beating the good teams, but I wouldn't expect them to. Sam Houston State versus Western Kentucky. That's definitely a game that maybe no one's interested in, but just because football is back, we got to talk about that they're playing. And then Stanford versus Hawaii. That will be the last game of the night. Stanford, let's see what they got. They've been a team that they've been really bad recently, but they did improve a little bit last year, and then they're taking on Hawaii. That's a nice trip, man, for them. They're going to Hawaii as their first game of the year to start week 0. Pretty cool stuff for Stanford. And then some other college ball news here before we hit the pick'em segment. Julian Sayin named Ohio State quarterback. He had limited time last year, but he is the guy that the Buckeyes want to go with after they're the national champions, defending national champs. So Will Howard, of course, is gone from that team. So now it's Sayin's turn. He's another guy. He's going into his second year. He's going to take on Texas next week as his first game, so he's not getting thrown into anything easy. He's taking on the number one team next Saturday at home at 12 o'clock. It's the big noon kickoff game, so there's a lot of pressure on him to start his career. So we'll see what Saying can do with that. And then BYU, Bear Bachmeyer making history as he was the first true freshman to be named starter for BYU on opening day. That's big for them. Um, the more known name was Jake Retzlaff, who left the school after he was supposed to be. He would have been suspended by the university, not by the NCAA, but by the university. So he said, "Well, I still have a chance at playing somewhere else. I'm going to leave because I'm not sitting out for 7 games, which is pretty much half the season. There's no point in doing that." And then the last thing like I said, was CJ Carr named QB1 for Notre Dame. But the last thing I do actually, second to last thing I do want to do before we give the picks and wrap this one up is I wanted to talk, just give the score a little bit of a scoreboard update for the MLB today. Um, Talk about the games that finished because I know that affects the standings and stuff like that a little differently. But the Pirates took home a win 2-1 against the Blue Jays, so that's big for Yankee fans, Red Sox fans out there. Second game that was finished, Phillies won 11-2. They had the 20 hits like I talked about. Luis Castillo got bombed the last 2 times. Tigers took down the Astros 7-2. Charlie Morton, they traded from the deadline. He's been pretty solid for Detroit. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the Guardians 3-2 in extras. So the Guardians looking to get as many wins as possible, and they weren't able to do that. And then the games that are going on right now, Marlins are winning 4-2 in a six. So if the Cardinals want to get anything or any hope of making the postseason, they need to have a good series against Miami, and that's not the case right now. So let's see what the Marlins can do. The Mets, like I talked about, I actually hold them last. The Braves are up 1-0 against the White Sox in the fifth. The Yankees are up 1-0 against the Rays in the fourth. The A's are up 1-0 against the Twins in the third, and then the Royals are up 3-1 against the Rangers in the second, and then the Brewers and Cubs are tied 0-0 on the top of the second. That's another big series. And then going back to the Mets, they're down 5-4. They have first and third with one out with Brett Beatty at the dish. Vientos reached on an error after that McNeil double, so they have a very good chance of scoring some more runs before that inning is over. So we'll see if they do score. I'll give that before I sign off on this quicker episode than usual. But let's hit the pick 'em. So last week I did lose. So I am set 6-5 now. Biggie's at 5-6. So we're only a game apart going into football season because from pretty much from here on, I know certain playoff games, World Series perhaps, stuff like that. we will definitely pick baseball. But at least for the foreseeable future, we got college and then NFL. Next week, we'll pick another college game on Monday, and then the week after that, we'll do an NFL game. We'll probably do the Eagles versus Cowboys. Maybe I don't know yet. Actually, take that back just because Big E is an Eagles fan. I don't want him to. I know he's going to say Eagles are going to win, but I don't want to put him in a tough spot with that. So we'll probably pick another game, the best game of the what we think is going to happen, and go from there. But yeah, 6-5. I'm at Biggie at 5-6. Very close. We're gonna pick the Iowa State versus Kansas State game. I'm gonna go with Iowa State. Biggie is also gonna go with Iowa State. So the standings will remain the same going into next week. We're gonna see what happens, but yeah, we're pretty much in lockstep with this one. Iowa State is ranked lower than Kansas State is, but I don't know. I feel like I'm really high on Iowa State this season. They played really good last year down the stretch, and I feel like they're gonna carry that momentum in. I have a good itch about them. I really don't know what it is, but I just don't think they're gonna have a down year. I'm not saying they lose this game, they have a down year, but I just don't think that that's gonna be the case. I feel like they're gonna go out there, win some ball games, and start off the season great. And of course, being in Ireland, that's terrific. I love how the college and both NFL, a lot of sports now, they're trying to expand, and Ireland's a great place to have a game. We saw last year what they were doing before the game, what they were doing during the game, what they were doing after the game, visiting different places. We had the uh, the McAfee show there. I'm not sure if they're going to be there again. They probably will be. Honestly, that was how much fun they had last year. That was terrific watching those guys have some fun on live TV. And that's have bases loaded now with one out. But yeah, that'll be the pick 'em for us. We're both going to go with Iowa State. So either we're going to be 7-5 and 6-6 respectively, or 6-6 and 5-7. Hopefully, that is not what we want. We want some wins going into the meat and potatoes of some football before next week. We'll take another college game and then we'll go from there. I'm gonna probably stay away from doing the Notre Dame game. We'll probably do Texas Ohio State just because it's the best of the week, and I think that should be what what we do. But yeah, I just want to thank everyone before signing off here for going and watching us on YouTube. Biggie will be back next week. We'll probably bring in CT as well. We'll probably get an action-packed episode next week just to get everybody in here to give their predictions for college. Check in on the MLB. A lot of good things to look at. But just thank everybody for watching us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I will have another episode. I know today is Wednesday, so I'll probably do one solo again just to talk about where the Mets are at after preseason. Maybe we'll do like a roster prediction for the Jets, or what they should do, who should they cut, things like that. And then stay tuned for the in a couple of weeks. I want to do NFL predictions, so we're gonna do all the teams, records, and stuff like that. We'll probably put a post up there as well, just so if someone didn't see the show, they can see it on the screen and see what we think is going to happen with certain NFL teams. And then I'll definitely do a solo episode this week, definitely one next week, and going into just talk about the Jets and stuff like that, because a lot's going on, and it's good. It's a good time in sports. They really good time in sports, and it's going to get only better when hockey and basketball flip back around. But college football this week, week 0, week 1, the week after that. NFL starts September 4th, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Preseason is wrapping up. Yeah, that'll do it for episode 59. I just want to thank everyone one last time for watching, and we'll be back next week. This is definitely a shorter episode than usual, but just wanted to get some things out there. And yeah, thank you everybody for watching. And that was a very, very fun episode. But see you guys.